So, the Korean Food Promotion Institute has issued a challenge for people to make a dish with kimchi. I love kimchi, absolutely adore it. As you can tell, I'm not Korean. My family is pretty Italian, and one of my favorite dishes is carbonara. I wanted to combine kimchi and carbonara to make a kimchi carbonara, and it is incredibly delicious, and that's what I'm going to be walking you through today. Kimchi is an incredibly delicious Korean side dish consisting of fermented cabbage or vegetables that's spicy and funky and good and perfect for a fatty dish like carbonara. I always like to start by getting my prep station organized. I get a cutting board and a big bowl set to the side, and I'm going to put a big pot of water on the boil with some salt in it. We're going to use that for our noodles and get that boiling while we prep everything else. A classic carbonara uses a sauce made out of eggs and cheese and a little bit of pasta water. What I do here is replace half of the eggs with kimchi. That's sort of where I land on the kimchi carbonara, and I think that gives the best flavor. So crack 2 eggs into a bowl and beat those heavily. You want them to be as smooth as possible, so make sure there are no wispies left. I grab my bacon as well. I just have 5 strips here that I'm going to fry up in strip form. No need to cut them yet. We're just going to break them apart into the carbonara at the end. I like to get my bacon nice and crispy when I'm making a carbonara. I don't want like fatty globs that I have to chew on too much. I want them to be kind of shattering in the bites of pasta. So let your bacon fry up until it's good and crispy, and we're going to take that out of the pan. I leave the fat in just to let it cool off a little bit, and I'm going to weigh out my kimchi. As I said, I replace half of the eggs with kimchi. I learned that a large egg weighs about 50 grams. So I measure out 100 grams of kimchi, then I'm going to blend together until a fine paste, and I'm going to stir fry that paste. If your kimchi is not blending up, you can add a little bit of water. It's going to cook off when we stir fry it anyways. So I like to cook this in the bacon fat. We've got it, so might as well use it. I do take a little bit out of the pan, so it's not fully fatted with bacon. So I'm going to get my pan over medium heat again with a little bit of the bacon fat, maybe a tablespoon left in, and I'm just going to put the kimchi straight into it. I let that stir fry for probably 3 to 5 minutes. It's going to change from that bright orange to a slightly darker brick reddish orange, but you're not going to cook it for too long. You don't need this to turn into a small paste. Once that's done frying, I'm going to let that cool in the pan as well, similar to the bacon fat. Now for cheeses, parmesan and pecorino romano are pretty classic for a carbonara, so I grate these until I've got about 1/4 cup of cheese, maybe 30 or 40 grams of it. Now that we've got our cheese mixed into our egg, this is a great time to add the kimchi to this mixture. Kimchi is going to be a little bit warm, so you want to mix it in quickly. This is actually going to help temper the eggs in the end as well. Tempering just means that the eggs are brought up to a certain temperature, so they're not going to scramble when we add the hot noodles and hot water. Now is the perfect time to get your noodles in the water as well. We're going to cook those just to the time on the package. They know what they're doing when they measure the time on that, so we're going to trust them on it. And we're also going to take about 1/2 cup of the pasta water just in case we need it to help emulsify the sauce at the end. Once your noodles are done, this process is very quick. Everything is starting to come together and happens fast, so you need to be ready to act. So take your noodles out of the water directly into the bowl with the egg and kimchi and just start stirring like crazy. We're going to cook the eggs with the heat of the pasta, so we need to make sure that the pasta is hot enough to fully cook them. But we also don't want to overcook them, and that's why I don't do this over the stove, because if you do that, you may scramble the eggs. This is pretty foolproof when it comes to making a carbonara. I gave this a taste. It needed a little more cheese and a little bit of pepper as well. And then I'm going to crumple the bacon straight on top and mix that in as well. I'm going to cut some green onion because I actually really like what this does for it. You get a little bit of a crunchy, oniony bite with the kimchi. It's pretty nice. Whew, now's the best part. We get to plate this. So I'm gonna grab a big bowl, put this in a big mound, and pile it high with some green onion. And that is it. We finally get to eat this. It's so good. It's so creamy. It's a little spicy. The kimchi basically takes the place of black pepper in like a regular carbonara, but it makes it less heavy. There's less egg. There's a little bit less cheese. And all that's replaced with like that nice spicy vinegary kick of the kimchi. It's really good. Like really, really good. There's a bit of smokiness from the bacon. A little crunchy green onions. It's so good. Make this. Like, seriously, make this. It's so good.
Gosh, this was so fun to make. This really turned out delicious, and I highly recommend making it yourself. Thank you so much for finishing this video and watching it. If you really like what I'm doing, go ahead and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much.